Karen's audacity reached a destructive and shocking level when she ripped out my air conditioning unit, assuming that her HOA authority, boldness, and entitlement allowed her to violate property rights without consequence. She believed that aggression and intimidation could bend reality to her will. What she did not anticipate was that her reckless behavior would immediately trigger legal, financial, and public accountability, exposing her audacious overreach. It began on a sweltering summer afternoon when the temperature inside my home climbed uncomfortably high. Karen, driven by audacity and entitlement, marched onto my property with a small crew, claiming that my air conditioning unit violated HOA rules she had fabricated in her mind. Her boldness relied entirely on the assumption that intimidation and aggression would force compliance, ignoring legality and property rights. As she approached, I calmly documented the situation using video cameras and my phone, ensuring that every step of her audacious attempt to interfere with my home was recorded. Her boldness, meant to intimidate, immediately became evidence of reckless overreach. Karen's crew began disconnecting the unit while she shouted instructions, confident that her audacity could compel compliance. I stepped outside, confronting Karen with authority and legal documentation proving my ownership of the unit and its compliance with all regulations. Her audacious assumption that she could act with impunity collided instantly with facts, preparation, and legal reality. I calmly informed her that any further action would be considered trespassing, property damage, and theft. Karen, realizing her audacious behavior might result in consequences, tried to argue that the HOA had the right to enforce community standards. Her boldness, which she had relied on to manipulate neighbors, faltered under legal scrutiny. Officers and witnesses now had clear evidence of her reckless actions and verbal commands directing the removal of my property. Before the situation could escalate further, I contacted law enforcement, emphasizing that this was an active case of property destruction and harassment. Officers arrived promptly, assessing the scene, documenting damages, and warning Karen and her crew of potential legal consequences. Her audacious attempt to assert control through intimidation had collided head-on with law and authority. Karen, seeing her boldness unravel, attempted to justify her actions, but security footage and legal documents undermined every claim. The audacity she relied upon to dominate and intimidate now became the exact evidence used against her. Every movement, every destructive act, and every command she gave was recorded as proof of reckless overreach and unlawful aggression. By mid-afternoon, Karen and her crew were cited for trespassing, property damage, and harassment. Her audacious plan to manipulate and intimidate had spectacularly failed. Cedar Pines residents, long familiar with her boldness, witnessed firsthand the collapse of her once feared persona. The audacity she had used to enforce imagined rules had transformed into documentation of her criminal and civil liability. The AC unit was restored, repairs were arranged, and Karen faced financial responsibility for every cost incurred due to her reckless actions. Her audacity, intended to assert control and dominance, had ensured legal consequences, public exposure, and humiliation. Reflecting on the incident, the lesson was clear: audacity, when applied recklessly without legality or consideration for others' property and rights, is entirely self-defeating. Karen had assumed that aggression and boldness could intimidate, manipulate, and compel compliance, but her overreach ensured immediate accountability and public disgrace. By evening, my home was comfortable again, the AC restored, and Karen's audacious attempt to dominate and intimidate had been documented fully for legal proceedings. Cedar Pines residents absorbed a vivid lesson: audacity untempered by legality, preparation, and respect for property collapses spectacularly when confronted with law and accountability. Karen's bold attempt to intimidate, destroy property, and assert authority had failed completely. Her entitlement, aggression, and reckless audacity ensured exposure, legal consequences, and public humiliation. Her audacious behavior, once feared, had become the mechanism of her downfall, teaching a lasting lesson in the limits of reckless boldness and entitlement.